I'll say the last photo that we have of Celeste is January 2nd, 2025.
We have some new huge information coming out about Celeste Rivas-Hernandez and David. Private investigation was started into what possibly happened at the home that David was renting in LA by the homeowner of that home. And this private investigator was already able to uncover some bombshell information, like who was the last person that was driving David's Tesla.
I've seen the car driven to that spot, and with the dates, with the date that it was, and they left town right after that. I'm certain that's the last time the car was driven. It was put there with her, in the front row.
You're following the case of David and Celeste. We have some crazy new information coming out, and you're going to want to hear this. So first off, we now have a name of possibly the last person to drive David's Tesla before Celeste was found inside. Neo was a very close friend of David's. They were seen a lot together. So much so that they had a relationship that people speculated was more than just friends. But whether or not he was involved and to what extent remains unclear.
Something's not adding up here. David, or maybe one of his close friends, was reportedly caught on surveillance footage parking that same Tesla, the one investigators say had Celeste's body inside. That's chilling enough, but what came next only made things darker. A private investigator just confirmed that several disturbing items were recovered from the rental property, the kind of things no normal person keeps around unless they're planning to make something disappear.
The home's owner then hiring Fisher.
He wants to understand, exactly, what may have happened, and if his house played any role in that. But I will say this: there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is. There could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her, and it's scary, sadistic stuff.
Now here's where things get even wilder. The investigator, Steve Fisher, has quietly become one of the most talked about names in this entire case. He's been dropping small pieces of information during his recent interviews, never saying too much, but always enough to make people lean in. One of his most shocking claims is that Celeste may have been gone since January. That's months before anyone even realized something was wrong. Remember how reports once said she was still messaging family during the summer, around July or August? Well, Steve's hinting that those messages might not have come from her at all. He claims the last real photograph of Celeste was taken on January 2nd. After that, nothing. No new images, no confirmed sightings, no verified contact, just silence. Here's the unsettling detail. That last photo wasn't even found on her phone. It was recovered from a camera left behind inside the same rental home David was living in. And get this, that's exactly where Steve Fisher's involvement began. He was first investigating the case online, sharing pieces of evidence through social media, until the actual homeowner, the person renting to David, reached out and officially hired him. I mean, who wouldn't? If someone might have lost their life in your property, you'd want answers too. Once Steve connected the dots, the whole timeline started to shift. He's now suggesting that everything we thought happened this summer may just be the aftermath of something that began months earlier. And here's where it gets eerie again. Jump to July 29th, the day the Tesla was found abandoned. Steve says whoever last parked that car did it exactly 12 hours before it was discovered. That's precision. So, between that January photo and the abandoned Tesla in July, there's a massive 7-month gap filled with unanswered questions, missing time, and quiet cover-ups. Something big happened in between, and it might finally explain what really went down with Celeste. The deeper you look, the stranger this gets. Investigators say a camera actually caught someone wearing the exact same outfit seen in the footage from the Tesla drop-off. And the more you compare the clips, the clearer it looks. You already know about Neo, who goes by Neo the Asian online. He's not just a casual friend of David's, he's been his right-hand man for years. He's called himself David's personal assistant, and he was even present during those Discord calls where David used to talk with Celeste. That means Neo wasn't just nearby. He knew the dynamics between them from the start. Digging deeper, posts and tags show these two hanging out since at least early 2023, maybe even longer. So when Steve Fisher, the private investigator, mentioned the mystery man near the Tesla wearing distinctive clothing, people started connecting dots.
I mean, it comes very close to the camera. You can see the person and you can see what they're wearing something pretty distinctive. And there's photos 12 hours earlier, a person at the house wearing the same thing.
Photos from July 28th suddenly looked suspicious. In those shots, Neo was seen at David's house right before they all went out to a birthday party that same night. The guest list: Celeste Herrera, David, Neo, and a few familiar faces from the scene. The photos are eye-catching. David wore a loud graphic tee that read "Smile if you're," while Neo rocked a bright red 22 shirt. That same color and number combination now linked to the Tesla footage. Then, in a separate photo dump posted 2 days later on July 30th, David's seen again. This time in another bold shirt saying, "Sounds gay, I'm in." Neo appears beside him wearing a dark sweatshirt with red detailing. People think the pictures were actually taken the same weekend but uploaded later, probably to make the timeline look different. Online users quickly spotted what private investigator Steve was talking about. These weren't random outfits. They were identifiers. It's hard to miss that red 22 shirt, and fans were quick to match it with the person in the surveillance frame from July 29th. But here's where things take a darker turn. After that night of partying, David, Neo, and their circle supposedly hit the road. According to Steve, that was the last confirmed moment the Tesla was seen parked, before it was abandoned completely.
The time the Tesla was left there, he literally immediately started the tour. There was a tour bus that was leased, and I'll tell you that Tesla was moved and literally a bus departed for tour.
I'm going to show you guys the eats before we embark on our tour adventure. We got the Bangin' Balls burgers, the Bangin' Balls tender, tour bus vibes, studio in the back because we making music called tour. You know where it's at. You know what it is. Why am I talking like this? I don't know. See y'all in San Francisco. First show on the way. We're gonna get naked on stage.
What's chilling is that investigators believe they may have left town immediately after, boarding a tour bus the next morning as if nothing had happened. Social media tells part of the story. David later uploaded clips showing himself, Neo, and their friend Aisha laughing on the bus, heading to San Francisco for the first stop of his show. No mention of what they'd left behind, no trace of stress, just smiles and tour content. So now, between that party on the 28th, the Tesla's final sighting on the 29th, and the road trip that followed, we've got a suspicious timeline that lines up just a little too neatly. Something about those outfits, those posts, and that sudden exit feels way too calculated, like they knew eyes would be watching. This next part honestly gives chills. The short clip that surfaced doesn't reveal much on its own, except one crucial detail. It was filmed the same day the Tesla was left behind. That means right after parking that car, they jumped on the bus and took off like nothing ever happened. No hesitation, no guilt, just moving on with their plans. It's disturbing to even think about how calm someone could act after something that horrific. When the tour kicked off, David took the stage for his first show wearing yet another eye-catching outfit, a dark sweatshirt printed with the words "Divine Celestial." It stood out immediately, especially because of what people already knew by then. Many fans watching the footage felt sick, because during that very show, he performed beside a massive funeral casket prop. Viewers couldn't believe it. To some, it looked like he was mocking what happened to Celeste, rather than paying tribute. It didn't feel symbolic. It felt cruel. After that concert in San Francisco, things only got stranger. David showed up at another party soon after, dressed head to toe in red. And remember, at this point, the Tesla was still parked in that same spot, untouched, like the world kept moving, but the truth was sitting there, waiting to be found. Now, let's get into what private investigator Steve Fisher uncovered, because this part shocked everyone. He's been careful with his words, but the hints he dropped painted a terrifying picture. At first, people thought he meant tools, but when pressed for clarification, he corrected that immediately, saying, "I never said tools." What he actually described were items meant to dispose of a body.
In what you went through in the house, did you find any evidence of criminal behavior?
So, it's not a crime to think about doing certain things, but we found some things that had been delivered to the house that just don't belong there, don't belong in any type of environment like that. And they are things that you could use to get rid of a person if you wanted to. And they're really, people say, oh, it's got to be tools and stuff. It's beyond that. It's really sadistic stuff. Now, LAPD didn't take it, but they have told us that they photographed it. But again, that's not a crime, just ordering these things,
It is concerning to me that so much stuff was left behind in the house that Steve is collecting, as evidence because he's working for the homeowner. Some of this stuff that Steve and I have talked about offline, it's weird. I'm sorry. It's just strange that the LAPD didn't take this stuff with them when they had their search.
And the list? It's disturbing. He mentioned heavy-duty trash bags, strong industrial cleaning agents, and other supplies that had no business being in that rental house. He didn't reveal everything, but his tone said enough. These weren't regular household products. They were the kind of things that suggested preparation. Some online users even speculated that one of the missing items could have been acid or another corrosive chemical, the kind people use to erase evidence. Steve didn't confirm that part, but he made one thing very clear. The items found point to something planned, not impulsive. He called it sadistic. That word stuck with everyone. It made the whole situation feel even darker, like this wasn't just an accident or a moment of rage. It was something thought out in advance. And when you connect that with the staged concert visuals, the disturbing fashion choices, and the total lack of remorse after leaving town, it all feels too deliberate. Almost like they wanted people to notice the clues but not believe them. It's twisted and calculated, and Steve's findings are starting to make it all make sense. Now here's where the mystery gets even more complicated. Steve Fisher, the private investigator, started hinting at something that completely changes the story. While everyone assumed Celeste had been staying at David's main rental, new findings suggest that might not be true at all. According to Steve, there's evidence she could have been living somewhere else entirely, possibly in a small apartment downtown or even near Hollywood. That means she might have been moving between places, away from the home most people thought she was in. Steve explained that when he first checked out the original property, the one rented under David's name, he found no trace of Celeste ever living there. No personal belongings, no signs of her being part of that space. He was hired directly by the landlord, so his search was official, not just speculation. That discovery alone raised a serious question. If she wasn't living there, where exactly was she? Around that time, online communities began digging into this theory too. People started connecting dots between old social media clips, tagged locations, and background details in photos. One person suggested that Celeste might have been staying under someone else's lease, possibly another rental that David helped cover quietly. Others speculated that he could have been providing for her, keeping things private and off the record since she wasn't attending school or working. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, these are all unverified online discussions, but they show how deeply people are invested in figuring out what happened. Some even brought up a second property tied to David's name, described as a streaming house, where several creators used to go live together. That location, they believe, might have been Celeste's real hangout spot, or at least the last place she was seen interacting online. Steve hasn't confirmed whether the streaming house was officially searched, but he did say it held inconsistent traces, like someone had cleaned it up fast. That comment alone sent fans into a frenzy. If Celeste was splitting time between both places, something could have happened during one of those visits, and the evidence might have been moved or erased later. Adding another twist, Steve mentioned that David allegedly rented a red Tesla in February, just weeks after the timeline where Celeste was last believed to be alive. That raised a huge question. Why rent another Tesla when he already owned one, especially one that looked similar? Was he trying to avoid recognition? Or was the rental used for something specific that couldn't be traced back to his own vehicle? People online immediately started asking whether the February rental was the same car later found abandoned months later in July. And if so, when exactly was Celeste last inside that vehicle? Steve didn't confirm those details directly, but he did note that investigators managed to retrieve surveillance clips connected to that rental period, footage that could prove crucial to understanding what really happened. What's eerie is how all these timelines overlap. January, when she supposedly vanished, February, when the red Tesla appears, and July, when that same car turns up abandoned. It's a pattern too strange to ignore, and while rumors about acid or other materials keep spreading online, Steve never directly verified that part. He only confirmed finding cleaning agents and heavy-duty trash bags. Still, the puzzle keeps tightening. Between multiple rentals, hidden living spaces, mysterious cars, and the lack of evidence in David's main house, one thing's becoming clear. This wasn't chaos. It was coordination. Something about the way all these pieces fit together feels deliberate, like every move was calculated to keep the truth buried. Things took another eerie turn when new records from the U.S. Sun came out through a Freedom of Information request, and what they revealed left everyone speechless. It turns out a neighbor called 911 on Sunday, July 20th, 2025, after hearing blaring music coming from David's rental home around 4:30 a.m. That's deep into the night. But here's the part that makes people uneasy. According to the documents, police didn't arrive until more than 4 hours later. By the time officers finally got there, the house had gone silent. The music had stopped, the lights were off, and there was no sign of anyone outside. Whatever was happening during those early hours, it ended before authorities ever stepped foot on the property. That single call suddenly feels like a major clue. What was going on inside that house that night? Some viewers went digging through old live stream clips and believe they found videos from around that same time. In them, David appears to be alone, streaming quietly from what looks like the same room in the rental. His energy was off, distant, distracted, almost like he was trying to keep himself busy. Others say he might have come from a private party earlier that weekend, but based on timestamps, it doesn't line up perfectly. Investigators now believe that whatever happened in July connects back to a much earlier timeline, possibly all the way to January, when Celeste was last known to be alive. The thought that her remains were only discovered months later in the summer chills everyone following the case. That's nearly half a year of unanswered questions. People online are now questioning whether that night of loud music was a moment of panic, regret, or just someone trying to drown out the guilt.
The body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez had likely been in the Tesla for several weeks before it was discovered. But one private investigator tonight telling us his evidence indicates it may have been much longer.
For a defense attorney, totally. And so I just think when we ultimately are told, at least what prosecutors believe the theory is on how the body ended up in the car, we're going to say, oh my God, it's going to be a wild story.
Because right after that date, David's online activity shifted. His posts became sporadic, distant, and soon after, the Tesla was abandoned. When reporters pressed local authorities for comment, officials gave a short, polished response. This is an active investigation with significant resources committed to finding the truth. We cannot share additional information at this stage. In other words, they're not talking. What's strange, though, is how calm David appears now. He's not behind bars, he's not hiding, and from what's been seen online, he's moving freely. That's raising serious questions. If police have all this evidence, why hasn't there been a major move yet? So, with the 911 call, the late-night noise, the abandoned Tesla, and the silence from investigators, it feels like we're staring at a puzzle with one piece missing. Something happened in those dark hours of July 20th. And until that gap is filled, the truth about Celeste's final moments is still out there waiting to be uncovered. In the weeks following that 911 call, the situation around David's case exploded online. What started as quiet speculation turned into a full-blown digital investigation. True crime forums, Reddit threads, and TikTok pages began dissecting every movement, every post, every sound in those live stream clips.
Well, let me ask you this. Yeah, let me ask you this. Like, we don't know what they took from the home and those boxes and whatnot, but if they have his devices, or forget about his devices, let's say they subpoena his, his phone carrier or his Google account or whatever, it's very easy and very quick for law enforcement to get access to pretty much anything that crosses your phone and your computer. And so if they get text messages, like that sexting, that's enough, right? To potentially
enough for
charge
288.
him.
I think that's enough to pull the trigger on a 288. But of course,
they don't need like sex videos. They don't need, right? They don't need, okay. Yeah.
Believe it or not. Yeah, my guy was out of state on that case, and he never even met her before. And that was like probably 1998 when I did that. It's been the law for a long time. And if you think about it, the law really is applied philosophy. It's about what's right, what's wrong. And our law, despite all the criticism it gets, it's based on things that stand the test of time. So when you look at cases that are old and you take a step back and you really think about it, that's what law school is all about, is understanding the philosophical right and wrong.
Internet sleuths even matched the faint music heard in the background of his old streams to playlists he used at his shows, trying to pinpoint exactly which night the noise complaint might have come from. Then came the leaks. Screenshots allegedly pulled from Discord servers started spreading, showing private group chats between David, Neo, and a few unnamed users. In those conversations, people noticed subtle references to cleaning up and not saying too much. While none of the messages were officially verified, their tone was enough to send the internet into overdrive. Some claimed it was just inside jokes. Others felt it was coded language connected to what happened in July. Meanwhile, residents near the rental house started coming forward with their own memories. One neighbor said she remembered seeing a red car parked halfway on the curb for almost 2 days before it disappeared. Another reported noticing a strange chemical smell around the same time police were called. Something that stung in the air, but faded by morning. Those statements haven't been confirmed in the official reports, but they line up eerily well with the time frame of the abandoned Tesla. Investigators, on the other hand, remain tight-lipped. Steve Fisher, the private investigator who's been digging into this from the start, hinted in a podcast that his team recently obtained new footage from a nearby alley camera, one that might show who actually walked away from the Tesla. He didn't give details, only saying, "What we found changes the timeline. Again." That single quote has already sparked endless theories across social media. What's even more unsettling is how disconnected David seems from all of it. His latest posts show him back in the studio, previewing new songs and clips, as if the world isn't piecing together a major criminal case around him. Some fans claim he's trying to control the narrative, turning public curiosity into publicity. Others believe it's denial, a way to act normal and pretend none of this happened. And still, the silence around Celeste's real story grows louder. No family statements, no confirmed memorial. Just fragments of her life left behind online. Photos, short clips, and messages that suddenly stopped one day in January. Now, every day that passes without answers feels heavier. Because if Steve's right, the truth isn't lost. It's buried under layers of distraction, secrecy, and silence that someone worked very hard to build. What's wild is that despite all this chaos surrounding the case, new posts keep showing David still active online, especially on Snapchat. People were convinced he had checked into a mental health facility or gone completely off the grid, but nope. He's still out here posting selfies, random clips, and snippets from his daily life like nothing ever happened. It's honestly shocking. You'd think after everything that came to light, the investigation, the speculation, the timelines, the evidence, he'd step away from social media completely. But instead, it's the total opposite. His latest snaps show him hanging out, responding to fans, and even teasing new content. It almost feels like he's using the same platforms tied to the controversy to rebuild his image. That's what's leaving people speechless. For those who followed Celeste's story closely, seeing that kind of online activity hits hard. Many people in the comments are frustrated, confused, even angry. They're asking how he's still free, still posting, still smiling on camera when the investigation is far from over. It's not just about blame anymore. It's about justice and accountability. Whether you believe he's guilty or not, there's a shared sense that something doesn't add up. And what's even more haunting is that while the internet debates, Celeste's story keeps fading from mainstream headlines. Her name trends for a few hours when something new surfaces, then disappears again under the next viral story. But her supporters haven't stopped. Online communities continue to keep her name alive, sharing her photos, her clips, and even small tributes to make sure she's never forgotten. One thing is clear, this case isn't just about one person anymore. It's about how fame, money, and influence can warp accountability in real time. Every update pulls in more eyes, more theories, and more heartbreak. And yet, somehow, the person at the center of it all is still scrolling, still posting, and still acting like nothing's wrong. It's surreal. So what do you think? Do you believe justice will ever catch up? Or is this another case where fame shields the truth from ever fully coming out? Drop your thoughts below. I really want to know where you stand on this. And before you go, don't forget, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe if you want to stay updated on every twist, every leak, and every shocking reveal. We've got more stories coming that'll have you rethinking everything you thought you knew about the celebrity world. See you in the next one, and make sure to watch the next video on your screen right now for even more insane celebrity drama.